Good afternoon, good morning in some cases, those joining us from the West. Welcome to everybody, and welcome to the CPIA program overview. And I want to thank everybody for signing up today. We've got a number of people that will be listening to this in recorded format. But again, we've got quite a few on today. We've got 47 people that have signed up, probably more since I last checked. So certainly lots of interest, and I appreciate you taking the time to be a part of it live for those that are here today, and for those that will listen to this as a recording. Everybody will get the recording. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to throw them into the chat, and I'm happy to answer them. Likely we'll answer questions throughout the session. We've anticipated a number of questions. We are looking at a July start for this program. July till December it runs. We've currently got the first cohort in this session, which runs January to June. Very excited. It's a great class, and we'd love to have you as part of the second group that starts in July. And again, happy to answer questions. Want to thank my colleague, Jason Miller, who's joined me today. He is the tech guru, and should there be any issues, he'll pop on and let you know. But I welcome and thank Jason for his time. So I want to make sure that we keep this respectful and that we complete this within half an hour, and happy to answer questions as we're going through it. So let me just step back and first acknowledge that Queen's, the studio, the Smith School of Business, all in Kingston around us here, all situated on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory. There's also a significant Métis community, and there are First Peoples from our other nations across Turtle Island present today. We're grateful to be able to live, to learn, to play, to have this webinar on these lands, and very respectful of that. So welcome to the Business School at Queen's, and as part of this program, welcome to looking at the idea of professional impact analysis and getting more into that. So this is the Certificate in Professional Impact Analysis. I will go into detail about this, and again, happy to answer questions. It's a burgeoning field that there's a number of people that we've got in the program now that are very excited to be in the program. And obviously the faculty I'll introduce you to as well. My name is Glenn Hollis. I have been running the program now since its inception, and part of the business school. I was prior to that running the accelerated MBA program, which again is part of the Queen's Business School, the Smith School of Business. So this is the only program that measures good, and we're going to talk about what that means. But I want you to get your head around that, this idea of measuring good. And that's going to mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Many of you on the call are in the for-profit space. Many of you are in different brands and companies. Many of your organizations, whether it's in not-for-profit, in NGO, in government, at all three different levels of government. It's certainly a topical issue in this day and age. It made even more topical by what's going on in the US. And we're quite excited that we're building more and more professionals to look at and measure this idea of good or impact. So what's the story here as we sort of step back and take a look? Well, great brands, this is me from a marketing standpoint, that's my background. But we look at great brands, think of, your organization, companies, groups, whatever it is. They have a greater sense of purpose, what they are in the business for, not the how and the what, or only just the how and the what, but the why. And these leaders, like you, care about people, planet, and communities. And these leaders are part of these great brands, and they are increasingly putting their money where their head and their heart is, and this idea of doing good in different types of projects. Now, that doesn't just mean altruistic. It does, but it also means more than that. It means smart business, product development, service development that has a good element to it. And this overarching idea of you can do both well and do good is a big thrust of this program. So organizations that do this, groups, they tend to command a higher value, and that means value to their customers, to their employees, to the community, to their stakeholders. And this idea of doing good allows you to do more good. The more we can measure it, the more we can do. And the more good we can do, that's ultimately good for the world. So our mission here is very focused, enabling leaders, you, to measure good so you can do more good, and so on and so forth. So let's talk a little bit about impact projects. And again, throw questions in as we're going through this. But we think of it in two major tranches of activity. One is impact investment or good that organizations do with respect to community and societal benefit or betterment projects. So think about World Vision, think about CIBC's Run for the Cure, think about things that are going on in different levels of government for community, feeding school children programs, eradicating disease, vaccine programs, helping economically disadvantaged children go to camp. The other side of good is this idea of business for good and CSR investment. So Ocean Steel, one of our accelerated MBA graduates, works for a senior exec at Ocean Steel, and they were very interested in pursuing something that their customers were pushing them to do, which is this idea of green steel. So they've traditionally produced your normal kind of steel for development and building, but increasingly their stakeholders, their customers, were asking them to look at low carbon footprint green steel production. And that's something that they looked at and said, okay, this is great. This is a profitable opportunity. And it's also something that we can do good for the world. Warby Parker, buy a pair, give a pair, or Suncor. We think of that when we think of, Petro-Canada stations reducing the idea of plastic bottles for windshield washer fluid. Now they've got pumps at the station for that kind of thing. So all of these have a business impact, and they've got a helping the world impact as well. So the big question, and why, hopefully you're interested in this, is how do you measure it? And you can measure it superficially, and that's what's been going on in the past. But this idea of rigor and discipline and evidence-based measurement is something that we're putting forward as part of this program. So organizations are great at measuring all kinds of things. You know this: financial performance, customer sat, productivity, whatever it is. But few are really credibly measuring, reporting social, environmental, and wider impact, economic impact projects, not with the same discipline that they put into the financial side. So the good news is this program allows you to do that. This is about tools and tips and practices, education, content that allows you to develop these methods and the rigor to measure that. And leaders increasingly are being asked to do more of that. And this is also about really careers and the idea of growing career areas and a field that is all about trying to measure this idea of good. For-profit, not-for-profit, government, widely applicable. And there's more and more rigor on it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Why is it important? Well, you want to do it because you want your company, your organization, your government entity to be at the forefront of this idea of measuring. You want to be able to do more good. And also, and we see this now, and I mentioned about what's going on south of us that we're all painfully aware of, but there's more and more demand from stakeholders to really prove that what you're doing is delivering the mail, is answering the question of are we doing good? Is it moving the needle? And increasingly, we're seeing more of this by stakeholders. And that could be government, it could be community, it could be customers, it could be employees, a number of different people that are looking at where we're putting our money. Are we getting bang for our buck out of that? Are we able to measure that? And this is about evidence-based measurement. This is about being able to say, yes, we are. Look at the measure from and to, and what you can measure, you can obviously do more of. And it is about doing good for the company and doing good for the world. And that may sound high level or Pollyanna, but it is very much about creating a greater sense of impact and really productivity, but with purpose. So in comparison, and you know this, you're amazing at looking at measuring financial impact. And this is the idea of compliance and reporting, but it's also about making better decisions. And when we arm you with the same rigor for social impact efforts or business development, be it products or services that have a social impact arm to it or component, it is about being able to put those right alongside financial returns and being able to say, yeah, we're moving the needle. And it is this rigor and transparency that the certificate in professional impact analysis gives you. And the students that are in it now are delighted with the program thus far, and they are getting that kind of education that will put them in a prime position to be those leaders when obviously opportunity comes up, projects and programs are developed. So how do we measure it? Well, we measure it through the program that I'll share with you in a little more detail. And again, throw any questions that you've got into this. But there's three key modules: impact foundations, impact accounting, don't get scared, impact evaluating, and impact learning. I'll talk about each of these. So when we think about the structure and the flow of the program, I mentioned it runs over 6 months, intentionally, ample time, leisurely pace. It's all virtual. You're doing this from the comfort of your home, your office, your home office. And you're able to also interconnect with other students, network, and there's live sessions that are part of this. So 3 modules, all online recorded sessions, and there's live components that are part of this. Each module of the 3 modules is 20 hours long. So there's 4 3-hour lectures broken up into really easily digestible lecture videos, and 1 day defined well in advance so you can set it in your calendar. 1 day for each of the modules where it's live but virtual. And this is the capstone session. So the total program is 60 hours in total. And at the end of each module, there's an individual quiz, there's an assignment, again, totally based on the content that you just went through. You can watch, rewatch. And each module is completed within 6 weeks. And again, I mentioned at your pace, there's a capstone at the end of that. There's also coffee chat sessions and office time that can be set with the professors. And this is important because lots of questions get tabled. We've got one this afternoon. It's an hour long. Come in if you want. And it's about being able to just table questions or comments you have. And sometimes there's kind of bonus content where, for instance, one of the professors will talk about this craziness going on with tariffs. What does that mean? What's the impact of that from an economic standpoint? You've also got coaches that are part of the capstone session as well. At the end of the 3 modules, over that 6 months, is a final certification exam. And then you are certified as a professional impact analyst. And that's something that, again, we're pretty excited about building more and more of. So let's talk a little bit about your faculty. You've got 3 professors that are part of this. Dr. Murray. Dr. Murray is part of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact at the Business School at Smith. And she was instrumental in bringing Dr. Kashi and Dr. Cotton to the business school to put this program together. And both of those professors, Bauman and Chris, are faculty members in the economics department at Queen's. So you're getting a really broad and deep overview of the university, of the business school, of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact, and you're making connections. And that's a big value of this program as well. But again, access to these professors is key. And again, doing it virtually from the comfort of your home or office is exactly what we're talking about. So the program cost, each of the modules, 3 modules, is $2,500, total of $7,500. There is a tax credit. You can write that off against income. That includes everything, the 3 modules, all lectures, the capstone, the coaching, the connection, coffee chats, pre-read material, the certification exam, and certification a badge at the end of this. And that can be spread out over the 6 months as well, the cost. Now, if you've got 3 or more that are interested from your organization, as we do in several cases in this current group that's in, we drop that down to $2,000 a month. And again, or sorry, $2,000 per module. And that's meant to be more accessible, where we are very interested in getting multiples from an organization. We've also had 3 alumni that gathered together that were in MBA programs or undergraduate programs. So very flexible, but very keen in getting groups of people, individuals that are looking at these career advancement opportunities. And please feel free to throw any questions you've got into the chat. So the 3 modules are really broken out to and designed to learn key methods, techniques, tools, templates, and use that in conjunction with cases and examples. So in the first Impact Foundation, it's about this overview of impact. What does it mean? How do we look at the rigor and evidence-based components that would make up measuring that? How do we quantify and value those impacts? And again, toolkit you'll take away from that first module. which is also baked into a huge part of the capstone itself. The second area is called impact accounting. This is the second module, and this is looking at analysis, cost benefit, cost effectiveness, cases, examples, tools, templates, very easily flowing and digestible, questions that are answered, and it all culminates in the capstone day, where even more questions are answered and cases are brought up. The third module is called evaluating and learning. And this is really interpreting and communicating the results of what you're learning, looking at this evidence-based activity and rigor, and saying, how do we take these best practices of qualitative and quantitative and make sure that we are telling a good story? And it also looks at the ethics of impact analysis and the storytelling where you're able to critically influence and lead others. This is where leadership and career advancement comes in. And having the cases, examples, and having the templates and tools and being certified as a professional impact analyst is something that we're keen on building with the group. So one of the questions, I'll preempt this, is it mathy? Is there lots of math? The classes are not about math. It's about ideas, looking at social costs and benefits, being able to measure good, and it rewards ideas. It rewards ideas, and the curriculum is open to a wide range of people. Dr. Cotton, Chris has put forward a very helpful quote. At the end of the day, those who come in uncomfortable with economics and math will leave comfortable in looking at it and thinking about numbers and analysis as it relates to measuring impact. It is not about math. This is about evidence, evidence-based, and looking at impact and how do we best measure it. And then how do we tell the story about what we've just measured so that we can lead and influence people? Let me give you some quick overviews of cases as examples where we talk about it's both in the for-profit space, companies of all stripes and sizes and organizations, from entrepreneurial small startups all the way to multinationals and large matrix companies, as well as looking at government at the provincial, municipal, and federal level, NGOs, and not-for-profit. So a wide range that we've got in with this class, and we intend to continue to develop. We've got former MBAs from the Queen's School of Business. We've got BBAs, BComs, lots of people without degrees that are interested and have been working for years. So again, the requirements are interest and your desire to be certified as a professional impact analyst. So here's an example. Coke, switching, are looking at switching to social plastic, this idea of recycled plastic from developing countries. So measure, is it socially justifiable? Is it financially viable? And is it something that we can scale up? And they've got lots of bottlers and organizations across the world. They wanted to do well, measuring it from a business standpoint, and they wanted to do good. Recycled plastic is better. RBC, looking at reporting on social return for investments, this ESG side of stocks. Is it a defensible methodology? And what additional data is needed? How can we look at the evidence-based backing to this so that we can share this with our investors and our investor community and our brokers, people that are selling these products? Excuse me. Tourmaline, of course, the West immersed in the resources space, switching to natural gas powered production machinery. Huge transition when you think of an oil company. So they were interested because their customers, their stakeholders, their community, indigenous communities are pushing them to this. What's the impact on greenhouse gas emissions? And what's the net financial, economic, and financial impact? And that's something that they wanted to balance out. World Health Organization, in partnership with the International Finance Corp, we're interested in looking at food safety infrastructure. How do we measure it? What does it cost? And what's the value of the benefits from a health and from a trade point of view? And they wanted to be able to determine if it works in certain countries, areas, organizations. How can we extrapolate that and roll that out to the world as a critical health and welfare opportunity? And of course, World Health Organization is keen on this. Tim Hortons Children's Foundation, I was part of the organization years ago, and they've got two sides. One is business, of course. You're probably drinking it as we speak. And the other is their philanthropy or corporate social responsibility side. So that's how I want you to think about things. So the Children's Foundation was trying to make a decision. Do we build another camp among the other 6 camps we have to help economically disadvantaged kids have an opportunity to really, get away from that anchor that they've got? And was it invest in another camp? How do we draw more? Do we do it from rent royalty advertising from the owners? Do we ask customers for this? Is it a combination of both? When we put out there a coffee day for the camp day for kids, or net new, do we look at another investment that will have a wider impact when we think of some of their other projects, community projects, Tim Hortons Children's Foundation, yes, but also Timbits Hockey, maybe a Smile Cookie, and reinvesting into foundational activities in key communities. So that's the philanthropy side, or the corporate social responsibility, CSR side of Tim's. And the other, flip the lens, business operations. They wanted to understand, should we build out a program that looks at simply funding into fair trade coffee like Starbucks and others? Or should we look at a proprietary coffee partnership program? They chose the latter. And that was because they could get more impact, create more good in small farmers in Brazil and other parts of the world, where they could help invest into them for proper farming techniques, irrigation techniques, fertilization techniques, creating a greater coffee yield and allowing them to command a higher price. Yes, that worked out well for them. And for Tim's, they got high quality coffee. And that was an important, plus win-win, or this idea of do good and do well. So we think of other things like, their distribution fleet. They've got 500 plus trucks. Should we switch that all to natural gas or to electric? And what is the impact from a greenhouse gas benefit, but what's also the business side of it? So that's the way to think about that. I mentioned one of our colleagues that was in the accelerated MBA program, and he works for Ocean Steel, one of the senior execs there, looking at this idea of green steel because their customers were asking for it. Now, are we going to have a market? Yes. Is it going to do good for the world? Yeah, let's measure the impact of greenhouse gas emissions. But let's also look at it from a business standpoint. Is it going to be profitable? And profitability is not a dirty word when it comes to helping do good in the world. And that's really a lot about this program. Now, it's also applicable from a program standpoint when you think of government and NGO, where they continue to look at these impact programs and opportunities. So that is a really quick trip of kind of an overview of the different cases and activities that are going on. You'll know more and learn more about that at a great pace, and all of it's brought to life with tools, techniques, and that toolkit within each of the modules. So who should attend? Well, you. Leaders of tomorrow, those leaders that are involved in impact, whether that's for-profit, not-for-profit, whether they're involved in it now, people that want that grounding, that professional certification to be able to really be at the table and be able to look at and measure an increasing application of programs in organizations of all sizes and kinds. And this is a growing career field, and something that we're really excited about being at the forefront of, and excited that it's in the university and in the business school for sure. So one of your professors, Dr. Kashi, he says, Chief Impact Officers of tomorrow will need the foundational knowledge to choose the most relevant frameworks and methods to define and measure evidence-based rigor, transparency, so that they can look at the impact that their organizations make and deliver that to the stakeholders. So telling the story is a critical element. And of course, the Smith School of Business joining forces with Dr. Kashi and Dr. Cotton, we're excited about creating this CPIA program and putting it into play. And as I say, the class we've got in now is delighted. We're looking to build out the the July start class. It'll run leisurely over July to December. There is the website. Just again, you can Google CPIA Queens, CPIA Smith School of Business, look at Certificate in Professional Impact Analysis. There is my email as well. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions, comments, thoughts, and throw any questions you've got in the chat now. And as I promised, we're coming up to 12:30 Eastern time. So thank you for your patience. As I say, we've got 47 that signed up for today. Very excited. We're planning to put a class of 25 together for July, intentionally keeping it very small and focused. We're going to have coaching where we've got a great ratio. We've got hands-on activities from the professors. It just gives us a chance to do more networking. So we'd be delighted. We've already got about 12 that are lined up for July. We would be delighted to have you part of the program, and happy to talk about if you've got multiples about some of that cost offset, as well as allowing you to pay out over the 6 months. We don't want to make this cost prohibitive to people that are interested in this space. This is about creating professionals that will be able to measure impact and measure good to do more good. So I'll throw it open to any questions you've got. Feel free to throw those into the chat, and we can go from there. And again, if there's no questions, I'm happy to, take questions after the fact and answer, one-on-one with you. That's not a problem, and to give you back some of your time as well. So let me just check the chat, and it looks like we're no questions right now. And again, I know that may be a bit daunting to throw questions in, and feel free to reach out to me. I've got my email up there, and delighted to have you part of that. Should we have any questions at all as we're going through this, but feel free. Oh, it looks like we've got two. Thanks, Jason. I can't see those questions. Oh, I can see those questions, Q&A. I'm sorry. Oh, okay, I got Janet Nicole. So Janet, will the presentation materials from today be available for catch-up? Yes. I don't apologize. I mean, I know people are busy, and that's why we've designed this program for busy execs like you. Yes, we're going to put this out. The recording is going to be sent out to everybody, Janet, and we'll absolutely make sure that you get that. Nicole, my role is more internally focused in large retail organization. Same. Is the curriculum provide strategies for measuring impact internally and with employees? Yes. Part of what we'll also measure is looking at the impact projects. It's going to be looking at the rigor of all different stakeholders. So what is the impact when we think about a positive influence of partaking in activity with respect to employee stickiness, employee retention, employee productivity? So all of these are considered as we think about the stakeholders, Nicole. So that is something we can absolutely ensure that's part of it is part of the program, but it's designed to look at it from a number of different lenses. Stakeholders that are shareholders, customers, employees, community, government, etc. Rachel, thanks, no problem. As for measurement, would it be safe to assume that we learn to measure both environmental and social impacts? Yes. Really, really interesting when it comes to environmental is it'll be looking at things like when we think of greenhouse gas emissions, or we think about projects that will have a assumed net benefit, for instance, cleaning up a lake. We look at the benefit of that from, what you'd sort of first lens is, okay, we're going to clean up the lake. It's going to be better for the community. There'll be less pollutants, effluent if it's, from an organization that may be in forestry, etc. But also when we think about the impact on improving use for recreational, we think about access to the lake. We think about community parks. We think about social programs like feeding children. How does that have a ripple effect or a knock-on effect when things like higher education, propensity to go to university or post-secondary, longer life, better health, better dental? So yes, we're going to look at all different angles and lenses for sure, Rachel. John, any consideration for developing and designing impact factors that are community informed, relevant to, yes, Indigenous people and communities? Yes, 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 and yes. In fact, Monday, I've got a meeting with other leaders from the Center for Entrepreneurship, Innovation, and Social Impact, and with a gentleman named Dakota. Dakota is from a First Nation community, and he's working with BCG, Boston Consulting Group, and the center. And we're actually going to be talking about designing a program where it has significant influence on Indigenous communities, and looking at leaders from those communities. And we've got a number of them in contact with us that are interested in putting a program together to look at the community within the Indigenous areas. tons of reconciliation funds that are being applied. How do we measure those? So we're going to be working with Dakota and with Boston Consulting Group and other students, interested parties. Feel free, John, throw me an email, and if you want to get involved, we'd love to have you in the program. And if you've got a direct connection to the Indigenous community, love to invite you into the development of customizing this for that space, for sure. So yes, is a long-winded answer to your really, really good question. So let me know if there's any other questions. I don't see any others. Jason, it looks like we've answered them. So I will thank everybody for their attention, their time. As I say, 47 plus, probably closer to 57 now that we have signed up for this. Thank you. Any questions, let me know. We'd love to have you part of the program. Look at the website. It's got lots of information. You can sign up, literally enroll right there. And I'm happy to answer any questions after the fact. So thanks for your time, for your patience. And if you're listening to this in recording, feel free to reach out to me. Jason, thanks as always for your help. And all the best, everybody. Have a great day.